Lilo and Stitch, the heartwarming 2002 animated film, was the second and final collaboration between the now-defunct partnership of MGM and Disney. It was an ambitious attempt to create the Dumbo of the 21st century, led by a small, independent creative team. The film was directed by Chris Sanders and Dean Deblois, who had previously worked together on the screenplay adaptation of Mulan. Years later, this duo would go on to direct the hit How to Train Your Dragon franchise for Disney's biggest competitor, DreamWorks. Lilo and Stitch marked their directorial debut. A few years earlier, Chris Sanders had already envisioned the story as a children's book, featuring characters illustrated by him. When the film finally went into production, Sanders even voiced Stitch himself. Of course, there are plenty more fun facts and hidden gems about Lilo and Stitch, which we'll explore next. Some of the aliens in the film were actually inspired by other Disney characters. For example, these two were based on Piglet and Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. When Stitch escapes in the spaceship and heads toward Earth, there's a quick reference to Area 51, a nod to the popular belief that extraterrestrial phenomena are hidden there.
5, Area 51, a planet called Earth.
When Pleakley and the Grand Councilwoman head to the prison, you can briefly spot Dr. HAMSTERVIEL in one of the cells. He later becomes the recurring villain in the Lilo and Stitch TV series.
You think you're so...
Chris Sanders originally came up with the idea for the film as a way to break free from the usual Disney princess formula. He wanted a setting far from fairy tales, so he chose Hawaii.
Going to Hawaii? Am I going to Hawaii?
Stop saying Hawaiian.
The name Lilo comes from the Hawaiian language and means generous. When Lilo gets upset with her sister and locks herself in her room, there's a sign on the door that says KAPU. That's a Hawaiian word, meaning do not enter. Right when Stitch crash lands on Earth, Lilo and Nani see him from their window. And if you look closely, there's a Dumbo plush in the room. When Nani signs the adoption papers, you can see their last name is Pelikai. The social worker's name is listed as Susan Hegarty, which is actually the name of the voice actress who plays the character. After leaving the animal shelter, Lilo and Nani pass a Chinese restaurant called Mulan Wok, a fun Easter egg referencing Mulan. And in Nani's bedroom, there's a poster from the same movie. When Lilo and Stitch are enjoying some ice cream, there's a postcard from Orlando featuring Cinderella's castle, a direct reference to Walt Disney World in Florida. One of the stores where Nani tries to get a job is owned by Mrs. Hasegawa. That's a nod to a well-known shop in Hana, Hawaii. Surprisingly, this film features more Elvis Presley songs than most actual Elvis movies.
Oh, I love this song.
Directors Dean Deblois and Chris Sanders even have a cameo. They're the beachgoers who run away when Stitch causes chaos at the shore. While the animation team was visiting Hawaii, their tour guide explained the meaning of OHANA. It refers to family, but not just the people you're related to. The filmmakers loved the concept so much, they made it the heart of the movie.
OHANA means family. Family means nobody gets left behind.
There's also a deeper story behind Lilo's character. At the beginning of the movie, we see that every Thursday she feeds a peanut butter sandwich to Pudge, a small fish. When someone asks her why it's so important, she says,
"Why is this so important?"
Pudge controls the weather.
Of course, they think she's just being weird. But later, we learn Lilo's parents died in a car accident during a terrible rainstorm. So even though Pudge doesn't really have weather powers, Lilo feeds him in hopes of preventing another tragedy like the one that took her family. There was an early version of the story that included a heartbreaking scene. Originally, Lilo was supposed to visit her little fish, Pudge, but then a group of birds flew down and attacked him. Lilo desperately cried out for help, but Stitch just sat back and enjoyed the show. This leads to Lilo getting really upset with him, and it's in this moment that she explains the meaning of Ohana, telling Stitch that Pudge was a part of their family. Afterward, she buries the fish next to her parents' grave. The scene was ultimately cut for being too sad and intense for a kids' movie. And since this is a Disney film, yes, there are a ton of hidden Mickeys throughout the movie. The scene where the house gets destroyed was originally much darker. Jumba was more threatening, and Stitch was going to fill the whole place with gas. Later, that sequence was changed to make it lighter. Jumba got a sillier weapon and even cracked a few jokes. You might also spot the famous A113 in several places. That's a nod to the classroom number at California Institute of the Arts, where many Disney and Pixar animators studied. Near the end of the movie, it's revealed that Cobra Bubbles used to work for the CIA, which explains why he didn't answer Lilo's question earlier in the film.
Do you ever kill anyone?
We're getting off the subject.
There's also been a lot of debate over Lilo's age. It's never directly mentioned in the movie, but officially, she's 6 years old during most of the story. And at the very end, we see a huge birthday cake with 7 candles, confirming she's turning 7. Thanks to the film's success, a sequel was released, but it actually served as a pilot episode for the Lilo and Stitch TV series. The show asked a key question: if Stitch is experiment 626, then where are the others? So throughout the series, Lilo and Stitch search for the missing experiments, trying to give each one a home. The show ran for 3 years and ended with the movie Leroy and Stitch, where all the experiments join forces in an epic battle. The story wraps up with a beautiful group photo of all Stitch's cousins united. The film was a commercial success and stood out during a rough patch for Disney animation. It arrived in the middle of a trilogy that included Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and The Emperor's New Groove, both of which underperformed at the box office. That same year, Disney released Treasure Planet, another box office flop that later became a cult classic. But by then, Disney was already shifting its focus to the rising trend of computer-generated animation. Lilo and Stitch earned an Oscar nomination for Best Animated Feature in 2002, though the award ultimately went to Spirited Away. Beneath its lighthearted Alien on the Run storyline, Lilo and Stitch explores deeper themes: grief, loneliness, the weight of responsibility, and the meaning of family. Lilo is a misfit child dealing with profound loss. Nani is a young woman forced to take on a maternal role she wasn't ready for. And Stitch, designed to destroy, feels lost and alone, without a family or a sense of belonging. In the end, it's the Hawaiian concept of ohana that ties them all together. And fittingly, the name Stitch becomes symbolic. He's the one who sews this broken family back together. If you enjoyed this recap, give it a thumbs up. It really helps. And don't miss our next video with 20 fascinating facts you didn't know about Lilo and Stitch, including how a Disney producer had to hide the film's production from executives just to get it made, and which scenes were censored before its release. See you in the next one.